to the real work. Manvi, are you ready?
Yes, Mr. Bakshi.
A great good morning in USA, Canada. A great good afternoon in Europe, UK, as well as in some parts of Africa. A great good evening in Asia Pacific, Malaysia, India, Thailand, Singapore. A great evening in Australia. There are a lot of friends in Australia who keep watching and talking about women power, hashtag women power, a global movement. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my pleasure and honor to have with me one of the very young, bright, dynamic HR directors my country has produced, a proud Indian. This is my pride for India, and this is Thailand, of course, both the countries. Her name is Manvi Sushil. We will talk to her. What does Manvi mean? What does Sushil mean? Sushil is a very powerful word here. Uh, Let me first have the opportunity of introducing my guest speaker with whom I am going to interact on hashtag Women Power a Global Movement. When you look at Manvi Sushil is an HR director, label and graphic materials, South Asia for every denizen. She is a highly experienced HR leader with huge experience in effective business partnering, defining and enabling people agendas in line with business needs and creating high performance diverse teams. Human resources has changed when I started working 34 years back, and what I do now is completely different. Looking at her background, she is a complete business HR professional. She has displayed agility. I'm telling 10 times because agility is the most powerful thing today in the world, what we talk about. To succeed in different business contexts, such as high organic growth, consolidation, acquisition, integration, enterprises across industry sectors. Before joining Avery Dennison, Manvi was working with Assa Abloy, a Swedish organization, where she was again HR director for South Asian countries, managing a geography with workforce of 1,400 employees in Southeast Asia. She's a strategic HR partner to the managing director, to the CEO, and she has successfully completed M&A integrations. I have done 12 M&As in the world and set up an agile people machinery responsive to business needs to provide a superior employee experience and I would say engagement as well. Before Asa Abloy, she led talent management and learning at OD. My God, OD is in my blood veins. At Bharti in Patel, Bharti has been a very strong organization. Many of my friends have worked for Airtel and also held various roles at Schneider Electric. Wow, what a what a great background this young woman has got here. Women power of the world, and see, in short span of time, she has worked for some great organizations. And Schneider Electric is again very respected organization. Manvi holds some management in HR. Oh, MDI Gurgaon. Wow. The first program of HR in MDI Gurgaon, I was leading with Padma Shri Pritam Singh, and I made the first curriculum. I'm talking about way back and maybe 98,
2006. Yeah. That was two batches ahead of me. That's right.
96. And after that, I left the country. She's also certified on various psychometric and leadership tools for design and execution of change and leadership interventions. Kota packet, bada dhamaka. Ladies and gentlemen around the world, the small packet, but big things. This young, bright, dynamic, versatile Manvi Sushil has done in life. Manvi, before I start, I would like to give you a quick background. Hashtag Women Power, a global movement, was started by me during pandemic. We as organization Global Talent Company have been working for United Nations, UN Women, USAID, UNDP, UNICEF, DAI, MRCS, even ECA, even in Africa we work on various aspects of leadership and management. We are one of the very preferred service provider. But one of the very important aspects of our work has been with women around the world. And the women of countries like Thailand, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Romania, Saudi Arabia, tough places where it is next to impossible for women to explore their opportunities and make sure that they become part of the global movement as well as the corporate movement. Having said that, before COVID, I call it BC, we were asked by United Nations, again UN Women, to work on the concept of the leadership, because we do a lot of work for the leadership concept of women empowering them. As you know, United Nations has got a strategic development goal number 5, which is gender equality and women empowerment. So we started working. This Varsha is there with me, who is supporting, who is my HROD leader in India. So we created Women Power. It gave a birth of this Women Power way back in December 2019. And by the time in February, it was approved by United Nations UN Women. We would have done by this time around 12 to 15 programs around the world on this UN Woman, what we had created. Unfortunately, the pandemic came. And when pandemic came, then we said, what do we do? And that is where Kiran Bedi is my mentor. She is, of course, we work together on various leadership programs. And she said, why don't you do it digitally? And this is where we started digital. And you won't believe today when we talk about 100,000 women by 2021 and 1 million women by 2024. And we have already crossed more than 500 to 600,000 women around the world. Today, Women Power, hashtag Women Power, is around 20 countries in the world. And that is where the concept is. And I took Saturdays, my decision to be looking at a women of substance, women of excellence, to share her success story to the world so that others can learn from it. That is where we are today. I will have some questions for you, Manvi, and after that, in the meanwhile, people will raise their questions on various platforms. So I will facilitate their questions as well. And that's how we are going to be doing it.
Great, thank you. Yes, Mr. Bakshi, thank you.
Manvi, today you are at a level of an HR director working for a multinational. I will call you a women of excellence in HR. You're not a business HR. I should not call you only HR, because in case I call anybody only HR, that's not right. You're business HR people. Business HR people. I want to know about your childhood. I want to know about your upbringing. I want to know about your parents. I want to know about your mentors. I want to know, as a girl child, did you face any issues, challenges, and how did you overcome? And you are there today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bakshi, for that excellent question, and thank you for that introduction. I think the sheer celebration that you've done today of my background and with such tonality and verbosity humbles me, because it also creates a little bit of a fervor to do better and inspire more people, much like your own motto. Thank you for dedicating your Saturdays to inspire women and other people around the world. it's truly humbling and inspiring. I think what you did right here is also reflective a little bit of my childhood. Now, when I was growing up, people around me always celebrated me. So I think I'm very lucky to be a part of that, community growing up, where I was told, and not just told in words, but also the behavior that comes with it, and the unsaid opportunities that come with it, that there was no difference between a male and a woman. So I belong to a family where I'm the eldest child and the eldest grandchild on both sides of the family. And it was always, um, a lot of responsibility to be the eldest grandchild. So it was never about any exceptional treatment, right? So I have a brother who is 10 years younger than me, and a lot of cousins who were so much younger than him. So I was always in the babysitting job, changing diapers, ensuring people are safe when they're going out. Also, keeping everybody's secrets in the childhood. If someone, had anything they were hiding from the parents, I was their safe custodian of all the secrets. And I had to do a very thin, fine balancing act to ensure that people were safe while also earning their trust. So I think my training as uh, someone who could be trusted, someone who could be partnered with, someone who could be left with a lot of accountability and responsibility started very early. Because and I won't say it was easy, but I think it was definitely worth its while. I think one of the biggest influences of my life were both my grandmothers on both the sides. Both of them were from migrant Pakistan, very different stories growing up. My maternal grandmother, my Nani ji, she was a very educated woman, a history teacher. And she used to teach me history like in Hindi, but as a story. So I still remember a lot of facts and figures in the form of stories. And my grandmother was illiterate. My paternal grandmother, I practically grew up with her. She couldn't speak a word of English. Her Hindi was quite broken. She could only speak Punjabi, and that too in bits and pieces. Because colloquial Punjabi was very different from the Punjabi that she knew growing up. But we found our communication growing up. I still understand her style of Punjabi quite well, though I can't speak it. What I learned from my paternal grandmother was that you didn't need to be a stereotype to be a successful woman. You just needed to be very, very authentic. You needed to have the right intent, and you needed to be very mature, in terms of how you managed a family, how you managed a budget, how you manage your relationships, and how you would be that strong pillar, keeping everybody together. And so I think I learned a lot from both my grandmothers growing up. And of course, my mother is a reflection of a strong woman herself, being a working mother all her life. Some of some of my earliest impressions, I remember my father not being too well because he had a bad accident, and my mother taking care of us and our education, also ensuring that both the sides of her grandparents were well taken care of. So I think some of these early memories have left a very strong impression of how a woman is no different, but still so different, it's just a privilege, I think, being a woman in today's day and age, where we are not talking about, discrimination anymore. We're talking about how to make the two genders, which are actually so much different and so equal in their own right, on the same platform, right? So I think these kind of conversations that we are doing, highlighting achievements of women, are so powerful in their own right. So I must thank you, Mr. Bakshi, and gentlemen like you who are so strong in allyship. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Manvi. In fact, I am in this process being titled as a honorable woman in the process by the global women who are 20 countries. And I would like to really salute your grandmothers for their mentoring you, bringing you to this level, and of course your mom has been irrespective of all odds. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the story of this young, bright, dynamic, versatile Manvi today, holding a portfolio of an HR director. But look at the roots, how these roots got built up by those grandmoms. In today's world, when we look at our millennials, when we look at our future generations, somewhere I feel very upset when they don't get this kind of nurturing to make someone a very value-based human being as well as a professional. So when you are a great human being, you certainly will become a great professional, and especially when you are in human resources. This is hard relationship. 34 years in human resources, around 18, 19 countries. I know how tough it is to hold such positions and to maintain your humility and maintain your agility towards business, which we'll be talking about. But ladies and gentlemen, whosoever is watching us or who are going to be watching us later, understand the basic nurturing of a child becoming someone tomorrow who is going to lead the world and change the world. That is where we all need to play a role in bringing up the future generation, especially the girl children, especially the women power of the world, especially these women who are your mothers, sisters, partners, colleagues, subordinates, and especially when we will come to that, Manvi, in a few minutes, when you have your role as HR, as a lady HR manager or lady HR director, how different it is. Now, let me go to your journey of excellence in the corporate world. When I look at your Schneider, a great organization, Bharti, a great organization, ASA, a great organization, and now Avery Dennison. I'm keen to know about how has been your journey as an HR. How did you grow? And what were those challenges as a female HR leader? Because I have personally nurtured a lot of female HR leaders, not only in India, globally, who have been part of my teams from Lithuania, Romania, Netherlands, Africa, America, of course, Thailand, many women. And how did you grow to become what you are today? And please share with us some of your difficult moments by which our people who are watching us, who are going to be watching us, they understand the dynamics of world in terms of corporate as a lady, as a woman. But even then, there are people who are taking stock of your great work and moving you forward.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, Mr. Bakshi, and I've been reflecting on this a lot more over the last few years. It's become a more conscious reflection for me rather than an unconscious one. I think there are a couple of reasons for this. One, I think any leadership journey, and mine is no exception, is about becoming more aware. It's about discovery and self-awareness. And I think my HR journey and leadership journey has been about the same. So I think each and every organization that I've been a part of, each and every business context that I've been a part of, own nuances and its challenges that I've always had to apply myself. And in that application, there are a few bets that you end up taking, right? And those bets have an impact on the business around you, they have an impact on the people around you, but most importantly, it has an impact on your own self-confidence and awareness. So what I have always done through this journey is that each and every challenge that I have faced or any nuance that I've had to apply myself to, I've done it with a lot of consciousness and awareness. And when I say consciousness and awareness, I mean a couple of things. The first thing I've really started doing over the years is understand my own strengths that I bring to the table. And I realize that I don't have all strengths. And as I am growing more mature in my leadership journey, I'm realizing more and more my limitations than my strengths. So I think just the understanding of the strengths helps me play my cards smartly. Um, and I think understanding my limitations helps me choose my team members wisely. Because my limitations should be complemented with people who have those same things as strengths. And I think creating trust with those team members who are complementing me help ends up helping me a lot over this journey. And I think as one big whole, then we win, rather than me winning individually. So I think a very important byproduct of this bin has been that the kind of relationships I have built in my career have been the one of very high trust and authenticity. There are hardly any people in which I need to pretend that I know everything. And COVID is an excellent example where no one in the world knew how to deal with the pandemic, but just that vulnerability and the authenticity helped us bring our collective wisdom together, and win in the marketplace as well. So I think it's been, I think my through and through, whether it's Schneider, it's Bharti, it's ASA, it's now, I have huge gratitude of working with people who have encouraged me to continue on this path of self awareness and humility. Because I think it is this encouragement that has allowed me to be authentic. Because if your environment is not conducive to authenticity, even the best of us can fall into ego traps, right? So uh, I've very consciously refrained from that. I've very consciously said, I don't know. I have very consciously picked out team members who have complemented my strengths, and I've in the process created relationships of trust. So this, I think, would be one of the biggest formulas for me, Mr. Bachchan, as I'm growing into my journey, and I do believe I have a long way to go. While you've really complimented my journey so far, I think it's probably not even halfway of where I want to be. This creates a sound grounding for me to be able to really, bring my whole self to my work, bring my true self to my passions, and to be able to flourish and hopefully help other people to do the same.
Manvi, first of all, please don't call me Mr. Bakshi. You can call me DK. I am known as DK.
Yes, okay.
Call me Mr. Bakshi. I am a coach. I am a mentor, but I would always like people to call me as my first name, DK. I'm known as DK.
Sure.
That's one. Second is when you talked about, I do agree with you, and you don't know it all. We don't know it all. And that's a fact of life, ladies and gentlemen. Vivek Harkoli is watching us. And Vivek is one of a very senior business directors. And when we went to Europe in 2004, 2005, and Vivek was the business director and I was the HR director, and we did not know about Europe. And how did we do it? How did we take over companies? How did we manage it? And I am seeing people from different parts have joined, like Shefali Sengal, who is tennis, Women Power, who has joined. Aditya Gadial has joined. New Holland Tractors. Virinder has joined from, Mauritius. Siripurna has joined. Wahid has joined. Oh, Milani has joined from, she's from Spain. And I can see Anita Raina has joined. And all these people are watching us and trying to talk to us and understand from our discussion. And a very important thing which you talked about was that in your journey, you believed in creating trust. And I talk about three T's very trust, transparency leads to togetherness. Trust and transparency leads to togetherness. And that comes from basic values and building relationships is trust, 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 and trust. Very amazingly, and you did touch about the topic about COVID, which will be going in few minutes, that nobody knew everything. We don't know at all. I am still the student of management and leadership, Manvi. I am still learning. And I am into reverse mentoring. I take youngsters as my mentors, and they make me to learn more. I am only 61. I am a young, dynamic person, 61, and I have still 20 years to go. And you are talking about your journey. You are still a kid in HR and you have to grow, you have to go, grow, and glow. I repeat, go, grow, and glow in HR. Because now, even after pandemic, the role of HR, role of managers, role of leaders is further changed. I have
Yeah.
a question coming to you. When I look at you in different roles of HR, especially when I look at you as business HR role, when I started my career, HR was predominantly dominated by men, frankly speaking, at that point of time. And I remember when I took first HR lady and one of my, I don't want to name him, he said, "Arey kya, Bakshi saab, kya pagal ho gaye? What madness. How can you take an HR lady in HR?" I said, "Why? What's wrong?" अरे HR में लेडी थोड़ी काम कर सकती है फैक्ट्री वर्क में से you guys you don't know. You have 850 ladies in your four plants, and she's going to be one of my biggest supporters on that. And though I used to go myself to the shop floors. बसंती क्या बना के लाया बसंती के उससे ढक्कन से मैं खाता रहता था. I'm like that. So what I'm talking about is when I started my career, so HR leadership की बात ही नहीं थी एक women की. It was only men and very less women. Now, I want to know about you when you went into the human resources, and today there are a lot of HR leaders that are women. I really appreciate some of them. I really am fond of some of them, not only in India, globally. I have some of very American ladies who are doing great job in the US. I have some people in England. I have some people in Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. I want to know from you, was it tough for you so far as women HR was concerned? Or you could make up your way and people became different in last 5, 7, 10 years in the world? How was it?
Very interesting question, Mr. Bakshi, because,
Or
sorry, DK. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, DK, very, very interesting question because, like everybody else, I've had my share of pleasant experiences and the not so pleasant ones. But it's the way we look at them. I, sitting where I am today, have understood one very important part of life and growth, which is that when you have people stopping your growth because they don't believe in you, they're actually doing you the biggest favor because they're making you tougher and stronger. So I have had my share of people who have not believed, not just in the gender, but also the age aspect of diversity. And still, I go through that some of it every day, right? For example, you're speaking in a forum and someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, who's the head of HR of Avery Dennison?" Right? And you see, you're looking at them, but it makes me understand that at so many levels, there's so much more to do, right? There's so much more to do to create so many more role models, people who defy age and gender stereotypes, people who defy, now we're talking about so many other things, right? Abilities and disabilities, people who defy stereotypes when it comes to the third gender, people who defy stereotypes in terms of just their sexual orientation. We're talking about so many aspects of allyship. So any incident like this that I face because of my age or gender or any other aspect of who I am is an opportunity. It's not a challenge, right? And that's something that I remind myself every morning before I get ready for work, whether it's a virtual day or a physical day. And I thank God at the end of the day to give me those opportunities to be able to toughen up, to be able to grow stronger, exercise my muscles.
I am very fascinated and I'm very thrilled to get such a great response from you. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the personality who is looking at such tough situations as the opportunities. Those youngsters who are trying to become part of the business and especially part of the business HR must learn from Manvi that even if there are tough, difficult situations, take them as their opportunities, break those opportunities, and create as I said previously, go, grow, and glow. Because these opportunities are the roadmap to success for your life, and you can actually build up a strong career in such a powerful, competitive, dynamic world of business, which is every day changing. Manvi,
Like, I would just like to add one thing. I think since you just spoke to the younger people out there, I just want to say that it's not about, success is not about winning the first time. And I think that whole pressure we need to just take off the definition of success. I think success, when you do something for the first time, even if you learn something from it, even if you've not achieved the target that you went for, just the learning and the catalyzing of that learning is so important, because and I think that's the whole youthful spirit, and the youthful spirit defies age. Like, I think you exhibit the most youthful spirit sitting across me, so I just feel it's success is about just continuing to catalyze your learning. And I really love what Chandramouli says in his book Catalyst, and when he talks about after every project, every experience, ask yourself, what have I learned?
absolutely.
And I think this is the defining way in which we can just take the pressure off and focus on the projects with a full heart. And I think that just helps us grow. So just wanted to add to what you said.
Very beautifully you added, and Manvi, I feel very excited when you are talking about this because that's a fact of life, that there is a learning opportunity in anything. And even if you fail, to fall is not a failure. To fall is not a failure. It is only when you do not get up again.
Absolutely.
So you need to get up again. When you get up again, there's no question of any failure. So we learn from our failures, and every day, in case we are on a learning curve, that's the continuous improvement. Kaizen, we call it. Continuous
Yes.
improvement. That's the point. And second important thing which Manvi you talked about is, and dil se, from heart. And people say where there is a will, there is a way. And I say where there is a dil, there is a will. Where there is a will, there is a dil.
Beautifully said.
Yone from Boston. Dil is our heart. So in India, we say where there is a dil, there is a will, and where will there is a will, there is a dil. Dil is heart. Yone is joined from Boston, and I can see Dr. Gupta is joined from Washington, 41 years in Washington, D.C. as one of our reputed doctors. So what I'm talking about is where there's a dil, there's a will. And where there's a will, there's a will. That's where I always keep on talking. I am romancing with my destiny. Because I'm only romantic about what I do, what I perform, how I deliver, and what I do. And the moment people start romancing with their business, romancing with their projects, they become real business acumen skills they get. Only now I'm coming to this another important point. And the recent pandemic, as I said, and you also shared, has been one of the greatest learning experiences. You could not see me February 2024, February 2020 on this social media. Today, I am active on all the social media. People know me on social media. I was a one-to-one person giving a comment, but this pandemic taught me a lot. Though I have not earned money, I have been doing most of the free talks. Now, only January 2021 onwards, I started working on my business model, and I have not removed any employee also. That has been my
Mhm.
lifestyle. And recruitment also has not been that great during this pandemic. But what I am trying to talk about is that this has been one of the biggest challenges. At the same time, as HR leaders, because I am also working with some of the companies, you have to ensure agility in business. At the same time, you have to be very compassionate with people. Because one side, you have to see that there's a business continuity. And other side, you have to see that there are people, processes in place. You have to be compassionate. You could not force people to work from offices. You have to make them to work at home, and you have to facilitate the process. Now, how did you do in these tough times? What did you do at your organization? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important question, and this response will come from someone who has already done during pandemic as an HR leader. What did she do different? How did she manage to keep the business on, because she is expected to keep the business continuity on as an HR leader? At the same time, she has to be from the heart so far as HR leader is concerned. Over to you, Manvi.
Thank you. DK, last year was a bit of a curveball for everybody, right? So when we started off the year, we started off with big plans about the business. We said we're going to, accomplish X% of growth, Y% of profitability. So what we did at Avery Dennison is that we planned early. When we started getting the feelers from our China organization within Avery Dennison, we learned from them. We said what are the protocols and the processes that they put in place to ensure that their business was well managed given the circumstances. So I think that way, because we were curious, we asked a lot of questions and we were prepared, we found ourselves in control right from day one. And what role did HR have to play under my leadership? One, we had to stay very highly networked to the HR world within Avery Dennison to learn from them. Two, we had to ensure we are very well prepared with the kind of questions that we should go. We were looking actually even ahead of the business. So while the business leaders' goals was to ensure business continuity, we had to remind them constantly that if we were to achieve business continuity, it was imperative to keep people's safety first. So people safety would mean we're able to also contribute to our customers, when we were allowed to do so post the lockdown. So we created two very, very clear goals for the business and HR together. One, keep your people safe. Second, keep your customer service. And in those two goals, we found our answers because we moved backwards from there. So step one, we announced work from home for 70% of our population, which was the population that did not need to go to the plants in the first week of March. We did not wait for the lockdown. Ensuring that they were safe and at home, we were only focusing on the remaining 30%. In the remaining 30%, we just deployed a very simple design thinking approach, right? We created different scenarios. We said if the government announces a complete lockdown, and knowing how decisions have been done in the recent past, it's pretty much overnight, we needed to be prepared, right? Scenario two, if the government does not do it and we are still expected to battle the pandemic along with servicing our customers, what happens, right? So within the scenarios, we had various sub-scenarios. And how we did it is we created an emergency response team, right? It wasn't a siloed conversation. We had representation from each of our business functions in that emergency response team, because to ensure that our employees were safe and our customers were serviced, we needed a very synergized effort within our production and operations team who were getting the people still in the factories to work. We needed a synergized effort with our logistics and supply chain teams who were our partners in crime to ensure that the product safely reaches our customers in the shortest point possible. And third, we needed our sales team to adopt a completely new way of reaching out to the customers. So because we had to do that, we had to reskill, we had to reprogram, we had to reinvent. So these three are, so we adopted it within these three things. Then the reskilling, we said, what are some of the competencies that are changing for us? How does agility look now in the new world, right? And how does customer connect look now in the new world? What do our TATs look like? Now, if a salesperson was committing to our customer that the product will reach within 48 hours, it was more important for them to collaborate with the logistics people and with the plant, because plants were operating at minimum capacity. So just the whole connect and conversation needed a bit of a reskilling discussion with people. What are the checks? What are the TATs that we can commit? etc. And how to do it with the safety norm. So if a customer is saying, hey, I want to meet you, how to answer them, because we were not allowing that, so our suppliers weren't allowed to enter our plants. We created fortresses of safety within our plants where only people with the highest clearance were allowed to enter. Even I wasn't allowed to enter the plant. That was the kind of safety we built around our plants. And of course, there were some associated administrative aspects with that, like how to ensure everybody's picked up from their home, dropped to their home. If everybody is not comfortable coming, if there is a unfortunate COVID case in their family, how much time they need to be given leaves for. So we announced special pandemic leaves, which were over and above people's entitlements, even over and above our long-term settlements, to ensure that people felt comfortable doing that. So this was the marriage of empathy and the stated business goal for us. And we saw people really rising up to the occasion, DK. We saw commitment like never before. We saw people with disabilities. We've got a batch of people with disabilities on our shop floor. We were actually most concerned about them. We wanted to ensure the conversation of equity and equality along with giving everybody safety, right? So we were actually worried, if we do not ask them to come to work, we ask the others to come to work, how does that go down? Like the whole conversation perceptionally. But we saw them coming even before us back to the workplace and wanting to, resume their packaging jobs or resume their, machine manning jobs even sooner than the other people. And we saw some people working, writing documents for us saying that we don't want overtime for this work, and signing it off because they know the whole compliance around it. We saw our union members doing jobs that they were not supposed to, like how each person is on a different machine, but they were such widely skilled that they said, we will man a machine if you don't have manpower. So everybody was working like a role model. We had some of our plant managers who worked all three shifts, and just to be those leadership role models for other people. I think the whole structured approach married with compassionate policies and also a great transparent communication through it all, and really thinking through the communication frameworks as well. Of course, you've got your emails going out from my desk, right, and from our general manager's desk, but it's more one-on-one, the communication. So I remember that in between April and September, I used to do 5 one-on-ones every day with my leaders of different functions. And so did our general manager. And between him and me, we used to exchange notes of how people are feeling, how are they responding to the current situation, are they comfortable, what's the amount of discretionary effort they're willing to put. And we had some really great surprises. I think the crisis really gives a true insight into people's character and personality. So there were people who we thought were going to be so good, right, a part of our pipeline, but we changed our mind about them in the crisis. And then there were people who were, always fence sitters, but really rose to the occasion in the time of the crisis. It gave us a brilliant insight from our succession perspective as well. Okay.
Wow. Romana in Toronto is looking at us and she is watching what Manvi is saying. And I can see Peter from Durban is shaking and giving his thumbs up. Yes, that's a fact of life. The way, ladies and gentlemen, around the world, where you are watching this show, look at what has been done during this pandemic in terms of creating an agile environment so far as business continuity is concerned, at the same time being compassionate and creating those SOPs to ensure their safety, their security, there's a change in environment, and there is connect. And one important fact which has been very successful and which Manvi also talked about, she says between March and September, on an average per day, I used to communicate to at least 5 people one to one, 101, 101, 5 people. Communication, 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 and communication. which is one of the biggest powerful tool of human being, that has been done by Manvi as well. And people like Manvi, there are many people in the world who have created this communication channels, open, transparent, understanding issues, and responding with empathy. Responding with empathy. Yes, Vivek, you have a question. I am going to finish and I will take your question. I can see this DN Pargain from Thailand has a question. I will take up your question once I am through. Vivek Harkoli, I can see you raised your hand. You have a question. Let me get through and then I will be certainly talking about and raising your question. Marvi, now you did mention briefly about when we went through this process of pandemic and reskilling was required. And what was in BC, BC is before COVID, and what is in DC during COVID, we are still in DC. And AC, I don't know when we will get, though India is healing the world. Ladies and gentlemen, India is healing the world. The vaccination biggest program ever in the world by Prime Minister Modi. Even countries who could never talk to us are asking for vaccination, and we are sending vaccination to those countries who did not even think about, and even small islands where the population is only 40,000. The prime minister, the presidents of those islands get mad when they look at India. How did India select and send me a gift of vaccination? While India is really healing the world, why I am asking here, because the women power, you must know, in February 2020, in March 2020, entire Western world talked about India is doomed. And in February 2021, India is healing the world. That has been the challenge so far as India is concerned. And I feel proud to be a global Indian, that we are, treating the world differently today. We are rather, vaccination is around the world, 90 countries, 60 countries vaccination has been done. I have an important question here, which I am coming when Manu was sharing about it. So BC, DC, and AC, the skill set of BC, the skill set of DC, and skill set of AC. Now, I have researched a lot. I have put on the social media a lot about the new skill set: agility, business ability, capability, deliverability, engageability, flexibility, honorability, gender ability, and innovation ability, high potential ability, and all that. I have created my skill set and I have been sharing in the world. I am asking Manavi on behalf of you audience. She did mention about the new skill set. What, as a young, bright, dynamic HR leader thinks about, would be three, four skill sets required for any role of leadership. Any role of leadership, whether there's a leader on the shop floor as a line leader, whether there's a leader on the marketplace, whether there's a leader of HR or a functional marketing head or sales head or operation head, any leader. What kind of three, four skills can you share with us, Manvi?
So, DK, I think the number one skill for everybody, which is needed more than ever today, is customer centricity. I just genuinely feel that we were always talking about it, but it was always like a good to have, but not a must have. I think what the pandemic has done for us is it's made customer centricity a bit of a must have, because while it is a leader on the shop floor, he must know how his product has to be bang on quality for the user in a very short period of time, and just going beyond the silo of the job. So the whole customer centricity piece becoming so relevant, especially I think in companies which are a bit of an essential commodity sector like ours, because a lot of our products go into pandemic fighting products. Now, for example, your sanitizers in your homes, you see the label there, that's Avery Dennison, right? All the essential supply chain or healthcare, the packaging material that goes as Avery Dennison. So just connecting with that big picture is so important for all the leaders to be able to move out of this is my job syndrome. Now, I think the second most important competency, which is becoming so important, is enterprise thinking. Now, gone are those days where we are thinking about the escalating principles which go to my function only. For example, the junior most HR person knowing what the HR function is supposed to do was always important, right? But now the junior most HR person needs to know what my business is trying to achieve in this year. And I think, and similarly at the shop floor. So I think this whole connection of people to what we are trying to drive as shareholder value, what we are trying to drive as some of our more community goals, right? What we are trying to drive as a good corporate citizen, also our basic revenue profitability targets for the year, just helps them connect better as enterprise thinkers and not just functional thinkers. And I think the third important competency, which is becoming a little bit of a must have in today's context rather than just a good to have, is very sound problem solving, lateral thinking ability. We are more and more becoming a part of the larger world, which is having unknown curveballs thrown at us. We don't have case studies to solve these problems, right? We can't rely on them anymore. It's more application based. And to apply, we need to start talking about people's problem solving abilities, right? Lateral thinking, thinking out of the box. So I think innovation is not just in the product anymore, right? It's how about I do my job. So I think these were the three things I could feel as the most important ones.
Yeah, very, very brilliantly you put together this enterprise, thrive as well as problem solving and literal thinking. And you are actually talking about innovation is not only in the product, innovation is how do you work, how do you deliver to your customer, how do you communicate to your customer, how do you connect with your customer, because at the top of the thing which you talk about customer centricity. Customer is a god, customer is a king. We exist because of customer. If there's no customer, we don't exist. Beautiful thought of connecting with the customer centricity, and driving it through the enterprise thinking and problem solving and later thinking. And you created one more thing. You said thinking outside the box. Rather, I say break the box, create a new box. Break the box, create a new box. Break the box. When you break the box, create a new box, you have a larger goal of reaching to the customer. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting very strong on this talk. And Manvi, a young, versatile, dynamic HR professional, is giving us some wonderful tips on the skill sets which are required. World Economic Forum, many forums are talking about great skills of the, but even if we just take care of couple of skills and upskill them in the process, moving from DC to AC, and you raise the bar of your managers, you raise the bar of your leaders, you raise the bar of your employees, you raise the bar of your superiors to deliver the customer centricity, you have done it. Even if we do that, and that's what when I worked with organizations on the concept of competency development and leadership coaching, talk about customer centricity as the power of the world. And we are all working around the customers. Very beautifully laid down concept by you, Manvi. Manvi, now let me go to the another question now. When you are as an HR leader, as a women HR leader, how will you encourage the young bride who are still in school or in college or in business school, who aspire to be the HR leaders of tomorrow? How will you motivate them? What do you tell them to become tomorrow's HR leaders? And how will you, in case you get an opportunity, how will you mentor some of these young, bright kids who are tomorrow going to be being on your seat and saying, hey, I am a product of Manvi Sushil. She has
Yeah.
really mentored me to be there. What will you tell them? One, two, three. Three things for them.
Okay, so I think the first one, DK, would be don't chase after success, chase excellence, try to be the best at what you do, If you're not getting the recognition, if you're not getting the money to start with, don't get impatient. So I think that would be the first one. And I think it comes from the fact that I'm seeing millennials getting more and more impatient as things progress. And while I love the energy that they bring and the ideas that they bring, and that's their strength, the patience will and the tenacity to achieve the goals added to those ideas is just going to be a very powerful combination, right? So I think that would be my first advice. And my second advice would be to listen, learn by listening. I think it's listening has this tremendous power, and listening is not just staying quiet; it's asking the right questions, expressing your curiosity, and talks. So rather than focusing on telling, focus on listening. That's more powerful. Um, and I think the third advice to some of the younger people who want to sit in my place is going to be have a larger goal to connect with. It will give you power when the times are not so bright to push through. If you have limiting goals, and I won't call them limiting, so I correct myself. If you only have goals which are about your success, your CTC or your position or your hierarchy, then when the chips will be down, it will be easy to give up. And so have a larger goal to connect with so that whether the chips are on your side or not, you still push through and you get it done. And so I think that will be my third advice.
Beautiful thoughts, I think Manvi has shared. Ash, Raina, Ash in Brisbane, you are already into the midnight and you are there. Are you understanding what Manvi is saying? And I can see there is my friend Parveen Kumar Singh again in Thailand watching this show and getting to know what's going on. And I can see Ashok Cole from, Ottawa. Ottawa, rather, we call in Canada, Ottawa, already watching us and looking at what's going on. It's a very beautiful way of Manvi giving her responses to my question. My last question to you before I go to the other question is, now you know about the global movement. Hashtag Women Power, a global movement. What Manvi is going to do to take this movement forward? What will be your role? How will you help us? Look at this, 1 million people. People call me mad. You know, I was interviewed by LinkedIn. I was interviewed by many women power around the world. They say, you're mad. How can you take this? I sent you that link.
Yeah, yeah,
I sent
yeah.
you. I said, yes, I am mad. Call me mad, but I know it's going to happen. Now, how will Manvi help us to move and support the movement of hashtag women, irrespective of caste, creed, nationality, religion, and color? Women is women around the world.
True, true.
How will you support?
Very powerful question, DK, and I think we can all do a lot more to support no matter where we are. So I think the first thing I can concretely do is really commit myself to the cause. Each and every action I undertake to remember that people are watching and I need to inspire them with my own success. The second thing I can concretely do is leverage the power of a trusted network to ensure that everybody, men and women both, or however people identify themselves as whichever gender, they understand that we are actually all in it together, right? So the whole concept of allyship, right? And I am lucky enough to be a part of a trusted network of people of different preferences, gender orientations, etc. So we can really get that collective power together where we value our commonalities and differences. And the third thing I could concretely do to help you is, TK, whenever you reach out to me for help and support, I can definitely try to respond in a positive way to help you in whatever way I can. You have my full support.
Fantastic. Milani from Spain is saying, wow, she is such a beautiful woman, Indian woman, beautiful woman, and she is giving beautiful comments on the women power. Milani is our chapter head in Spain. She has been doing this work. And you know what's going on now? Now, 3 Saturdays these ladies have taken from me. Anshul in Mumbai and Chef Ali in Noida, Milani in Spain. They say now, DJ, you carry only on one Saturday. Three Saturdays now these ladies have taken. I'm also happy that I am empowering them to do this show themselves. And they request me to come only on the vote of thanks. Sometimes I come. I'm very happy with your response, what you have talked about, and I am excited and thrilled that you will support our movement because it is the role of each and every woman, and including men, I am saying, to support this movement, to make our women power strong. And when you have women power strong, you become strong in the world. Go to those countries where we have major issues and we really take care of them. So let me go to the question. I have got a question from this. He says, can we consider every failure in life as a learning session? Second, what should we do differently so that we should not fall on the same again and again? DN Pargain from Thailand. What's your response?
Great question. Thank you for asking. I'm sure all of us ask ourselves this question every morning before we start our days. I think, yes, I think every opportunity to accomplish something is an opportunity to learn, right? And whether you succeed or fail is only temporary, right? Because in the long term, it's only winning when you learn from it. So I think if you have this larger view of life, every little stumble in the process becomes a way to get yourself stronger. Yeah? For example, I just compare life with going to the gym to all of you who work out or do anything which challenges you physically. If you lift a 5 kg weight and if you've not been working out, it will seem heavy. Yeah? But if you do it every day, it becomes simple, child's play. And then the 10 kg weight looks heavy. And then you got to master that and go to the next milestone. So I think everything would look heavy when you started, but it's about the daily things, right? And then the atomic habits is very beautifully put about doing, the small things daily rather than trying an overnight transformation at each go, because the chances of success with things adding up with a long term view of life becomes more probable. So I would just say, and I think the other part of your question is very, very profound, like how to ensure we don't fail again and again. I think we should fail again and again, but at new things. Repeating the same mistakes may just be stupidity. So I think let's make new mistakes, right? Let's not repeat old mistakes.
Yeah, in case you are repeating the old again and again, then it's not a mistake, then you are deliberately doing it. But in case you go for a new mistake and new learning, it's always. Peter is asking a question. You have, I don't know how many years of experience, but you have changed 4 jobs. On an average, in one job, how many years you stay? Because I believe HR has to stay for a longer time. What's your view, Manvi?
That's a very interesting question. I think I've stayed on an average. I think Bharti was a 2 year stint, but apart from that, Schneider and were both 4 years each, and I intend to stay at Avery for at least the time I can create value and I'm learning. And I think what the answer to your question is HR needs to stay for a long time. I would say HR needs to catalyze its learning, right? And it needs to be catalyzing change in the organization. Now, what tenure it looks like for you is for any one person to decide, and I just generally believe we should avoid stereotyping tenures, we should avoid stereotyping age, and we should avoid stereotyping genders of any kind. I do feel that commitment to an organization is important, right? Commitment to the business is important, commitment to adding value is important.
Wonderful. I think that's a very good response, what you gave. And I believe that, of course, there used to be a time when we used to say that biodata will come and person has worked 20 years in one company. Yeah, yeah, we need to hire him. But then I remember way back in 1997 when we were launching Parker pens in India. I was part of the Parker Human Resources. And my thinking got changed. And I said, no, I will not take somebody who is there 20 years in one company. I would like to take someone who has got multicultural, multi-dimensional experience of 5 to 6 years. And people said, are you crazy? We cannot do that. But then we proved right. And that was a time when I started doing variable and fixed salary. And I think I was a benchmark in the country. And after me, Pepsi's and Daburs and many other companies did. So the world is changing. So Peter, the world is changing. There used to be a time when people will train lifelong employment, and there's a time when you have 4, max 5 years, you contribute, you reach to the peak, move on to the next one, take new learning, move on to the next one, take new learning, move on to the next one. I remember when I reached my stage, I said, no, no more working. Now I will go to multiple organizations. And today I work in multiple organizations around the world. That's
Yeah. And I think it's also possible, DK, within the same company. Like that's why companies have started talking so much about internal mobility because they've decided to start curating those experiences for their talent within the same organization, right? So, well said. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, in fact, I have turned my operation business guys into HR and HR guys into business. I have many examples in the world wherein I had the business guy and more made him HR, and I had an HR guy made him marketing, I had a marketing guy and made him operations. So multitasking, multi-dimensions, it becomes with, and I can tell you, those people who move from such roles, they become much more effective because they are on a bigger learning curve. So to sit on one seat lifelong is not right. So let me, we are already 1 hour, more than an hour. And let me take this. Vivek Harkoli has a question. Yeah, Vivek, I would like to unmute you. You can ask the question yourself, Vivek. Please go ahead and ask the question.
Good evening, Manvi. Good evening, Bakshi.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Vivek.
I had several learnings from what you said today, Manvi.
I
And let's
want to
start
tell
from
you,
what you said.
Vivek, you have been always on a learning curve. I love you and respect you. Working with you globally has been always a pleasure. As a business director and as an HR person, we work together in multiple countries, and you have been always on the learning curve. And I salute you for that, Vivek.
Please
Thank you.
accept mine, Vivek.
Thank you very much, Manvi. Thanks, Bakshi. Uh, the learnings which I start, one from your childhood. You said celebrate when you were young. And to me, this is encouragement. So that is a very important aspect in your life when you encourage somebody. So that's one of the learnings is as a young child, when you are celebrating, there is encouragement to you, and that's gets ingrained in you. Other learnings are, as you said, trust. That's very important. Partnership. That's also important. The right intent, and I think that is a key to have the right intent, or what I call it as honesty of purpose. That I think is very important. And be authentic. I think these are my learnings today. Coming to questions, I have two questions now. Mani, you said you have gone through half the journey. My question is, what kind of journey you want to have now, the other half, going into the future? That's the first question. Second, there have been a lot of learnings to you in your professional and other career in your career. What is it that you want to unlearn from what has happened?
Great questions, Vivek. I think both these questions are kind of questions that coaches ask to help people reach their next level of potential. So I'm in my heart thanking you for doing that job of a coach for me, Vivek. I think the first question I would possibly have a little bit of more understanding of. The second question, I'm still on my with the honesty of purpose that you spoke about, Vivek. I'm still on a bit of an introspection journey on the second question. So I would maybe give a very half-baked answer, but I will get back to you when I have the full answer. I think the first question is, what is it that I want to spend the next half doing? I think what I would like to, and maybe I can answer is that stop, start, continue kind of a framework, right? So what I want to continue to do is approach myself as a student of leadership, of human resources, understanding businesses and context. I would like to put myself out there in challenging environments, make sure that I am a part of journeys of organizations which are transformational in nature. I have never chosen the safe path or the easy path, and I would want to continue to do more of the same. What I would want to start doing over the next journey is start creating succession for me. I think what's becoming really important to me as I'm going forward in age and different evolution cycles is what do I want to be remembered as? Right, that's the kind of question I keep asking myself, and I think the kind of answer that I'm arriving to is I want to be remembered as someone who created a legacy, and I think a legacy is not possible without very capable successors. So I want to create people who are better than me, and I think that's something that I'm going to dedicate a lot of my next few years. Vivek, I don't know how many yet, but let's see. There are going to be some learnings along the way, I'm sure. I also want to start, and I've already started doing baby steps there, is use some of the learnings for community aspects, right? So very consciously be a part of organizations which are high on sustainability aspects, right? Becoming a force for good, and really ensure that I use my energies to create a positive change in the communities that we operate in. For example, Avery Dennison has a very clear and conscious statement when it comes to giving back to the society. And I have over the last year been able to add value by creating very solid virtual volunteering platforms for our employees and being able to carve out a great strategy for us, which increases inclusion in the community in many forms and formats, and also do some big, good work around environment. Right, we are building a road in Madhya Pradesh using recycled plastic, for example, using some of our funds. We are running a community center in the Basai village in Gurgaon, which we've adopted for women, and we're skilling them. We're ensuring that the children there have a community library to come to. During COVID, we made it virtual. We've got some very exciting programs running, and I want to take them to the next scale and use my energy and creativity there. That's something I haven't done a lot in my career yet. So it's going to be possibly redefining for me in many ways. Vivek, I hope I answered part one of your question satisfactorily.
Manvi, I love the energy that you have shown for your second part of the journey, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivek. I will need a lot of mentorship and guidance, and I'm sure I can count on DK and yourself and people like you to help and support in those learnings. I think the second part of it is a little bit of what I want to unlearn, right? Which is the part I was saying I want to stop doing or
Manvi, let me interrupt. It's a sort of a little personal question, and you are free not to answer it.
Yeah. And I thank you for offering me that. Like I said, I'm a little bit on the introspection journey there, Vivek. And I think there would be many. I think if I was to start listing down things, there would be an one endless list. I can't even count the number of things I would need to unlearn. But I think if I have to start somewhere, I think the one thing that I would want to unlearn is to just like know when not to be vulnerable. Sometimes I feel like you need to know when to stop being vulnerable, and to start being the right audience for vulnerability. I think that piece of it I'm still learning. So when to push harder, when to stop, when to sow, when to reap. I think those are the things that come with wisdom, and I'm still learning a few of those things, Vivek. But I think the list is going to be endless, like all of us on the call.
Wow.
Thank you, Manvi. I really appreciate your candidness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bakshi. Thank you, Manvi.
Thanks, Vivek, for joining, and wish you all the best. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the close now. I cannot take many questions. I have many more questions there, but it's already, my God, it's already 1 hour. Oh, it is 60, 70, 75 minutes. I need to go because I have to go to another session at 7:15. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fascinating, young, dynamic, versatile Manvi. Manvi is motivated, aligned, nurturing, victorious, and intelligence. Again, motivating, aligning, nurturing, victorious, innovation. That's Manvi for me. And Sushil is very And but Manvi, what is the meaning of Manvi? Your parents, did you mention? What is the meaning?
Yeah. Very interesting question. I think when my parents named me Manvi, they thought it's going to mean someone, who's a strong, like a woman, because Manav meaning male and Manvi. So they wanted to embody feminism in that name, or feminine in one sense. But as I grew and I started researching on my name, Manvi also means the primal woman, which is a bit akin to the Eve of Adam and Eve. So the first woman. So I think I don't think they intended it quite like that when they named me, but that's the other interpretation. So she has a very interesting story behind it, DK. Since you're running late, maybe I can take it a different time, but it's got a lot to do with my roots.
Go,
You
go
know.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So essentially, we were not Sushils through and through, right? We were Aroras,
Mm.
as our surname dictated. When my ancestors came from Maghreb, Pakistan, and they started all over again, it was a bit of a phoenix story, a renaissance story, right? And they decided to change their name because they said that this is going to be a new identity. We start afresh.
Oh,
So, and something never like this will happen in the. It was a little bit like a vow that they took, like my great grandfather, that my next generation will never have to face what I have faced. So he kind of recreated his destiny, and I think that changing his name was a bit symbolic of that. So I've decided to keep Sushil for the rest of my life as my surname. I'm very proud of that legacy, and that's a bit of a story there.
I love it. And Sushil is a very powerful word. And Sushil means Sushil. And you are Sushil. You are beautiful. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, now I need to close. I would like to thank Manvi Sushil, the real great HR director who is creating his role with her passion, with her energy, with her enthusiasm, with her desire to succeed. And she keeps thinking that to fall is not a failure. It's only when I do not get up again. She falls, she gets up, moves to the next like level of excellence, 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 because she says and she believes the power of positivity, leading to power of passion, leading to power of progress, leading to power of performance, leading to power of pride, and leading to power of persistence, leading to power of perseverance. And when you combine all these POPs, and you become powerful human power, and here you become powerful women power. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been fascinating to share thoughts and get thoughts from Manvi Sushil. Manvi, I am really grateful to you from the core of my heart. It has been a great experience of knowing your journey of excellence. I'm going to catch up with you one of these days whenever it's possible in Gurgaon, walk into your office, share more thoughts. I do only this. My product global talent is only knowledge and time, nothing else. That's what I do with organizations. And I will tell Niti and Varsha someday maybe fix up and we keep going to Gurgaon and meet up with you, share more thoughts. And I wish you from the core of my heart a very wonderful, a very successful, a very fruitful journey in the HR domain. God
Thank you so much, DK. Thank you.
keep growing and keep glowing and become the powerful legacy factor of Sushil family. All the best and good luck.
Thank
Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this talk. The YouTube will be available in next 30 minutes on your entire social media. Keep sharing with the people and keep talking to people that we got another women of substance with us who shared her thought on hashtag women power global moment. 1 million people to be on this platform by 2021. We keep on adding more and more women. We keep on adding more and more women. We keep on adding more and more women because all of us as human beings need to respect, salute, and help our women power to be the most successful women power. And you are seeing in the world 6 prime ministers, women, making a difference in pandemic. Many women from Indira Nooyi's to all these women making a difference to the corporate world. Let's salute our women power. Mom, sister, the wife, the colleagues, the partners, the colleagues at factories, those who keep on working at home as well as in corporate world, and having a similar compassionate heart, being compassionate irrespective of all odds they go physically, mentally, but they carry the flag of human power around. Manvi, indeed,
Yeah.
pleasure to meet you, greet you, and have this wonderful discussion.
The honor is mine. Thank you so much. Take care.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.